Right, yesterday was a mess, wasn't it? Conceding 6 goals at home in the Premier League against any opposition is never a good thing. But Liverpool are the best team in the country. They flexed their muscles against an incredibly weak Tottenham yesterday. I thought we might have some joy playing through them going into the game with their aggressive press. I thought we had to be brave, but we just clearly weren't at the level that was needed to get any sort of result yesterday. And yes, that's down to tactical inflexibility at points in the game and just come under a lot of criticism again, obviously, after this. But I think it's more than that. I think there's a big, wider context to all of this. And I think when you think about how Liverpool were able to rotate their squad, obviously in the Carabao Cup, in the week, having a day's extra rest early, already being one of the best transition teams in the league and keeping those players fresh when you look at this team, compared to Tottenham, who played a highly emotional game on Thursday. Let me just take a doggy out because this was kind of my predicted 11 before the game. But it was Spence that played. They are incredible in transition, Liverpool. And I think I said this after the Chelsea game. When you watch a team actually live and you watch how they're able to kind of pick apart your side, you kind of get that real appreciation for the technical and physical level. I said it after Chelsea and I'll say it even more yesterday. Liverpool were absolutely phenomenal yesterday. And I think it's really hard to judge how good or how bad Spurs are off of yesterday when you consider the team that we put out incredibly fatigued after an incredibly emotional night on Thursday. Welcome back to the channel, by the way. It's a tough one to pick apart this, and we were picked apart, but it's a really tough one to take, and I didn't really know how to feel about the game as a whole after the 90 minutes because you're kind of just sitting there watching Liverpool create wave after wave of attack, and for 80% of it, in terms of what they did, I don't think there's much you can do about it. They are phenomenal. They are absolutely phenomenal. And they caught Tottenham on a day where we just had nothing left. We were just a boxer in, the 11th round, 12th round, kind of just hoping for the bell. And when I say the bell, I mean players to come in and kind of help these players out, because I think they're really running on empty at the moment. But still, some of the individual decision-making and some of the tactics or lack of adaptation maybe is also what cost us. But again, I think it's really hard to judge. So we're kind of just going to go through the goals and have a chat about it. Welcome back to the channel, by the way. Make sure to like and subscribe if you are new. Obviously, we previewed the game. We break down every single Premier League game. This is going to be my last video before Christmas. So I just want to say a massive thank you for all the support this year. There won't be a Nottingham Forest preview just because it's Christmas Eve tomorrow, and... But we will be back on the 27th to break down the game on Boxing Day. And look, I kind of fear for that one. I do fear for Spurs in that one because they're riding the wave at the moment. Nuno, every team's going to smell blood playing against Tottenham, given the fact that I think this team is just completely dead on its feet. And I think you saw that yesterday. I was proud of the way that we fought back and got back into the game. I was proud of that. And I think there are some players especially who deserve the credit for that. There's obviously other players that kind of deserve the credit for how they stuck to task during the game. I thought, again, Archie Gray standing up. Jed Spence, I thought, bear in mind, Salah got 2 goals and 2 assists and played really well. He wasn't even close to being their best player because I actually thought 1v1, he defended him quite well a lot of the time. But Dejan Kulusevski, we'll talk about his second half and we'll talk about the Spurs' goal to get back in the game. The energy levels are just a joke. And if he gets injured, we're in massive, massive trouble. But let's go through the goals. I've got this is the photo on the thumbnail because I just think this is where I got frustrated with, you've just got back in the game, but how did it get to that point? Now, this was the first real kind of chance for Liverpool in the game. Dragusin puts the ball back to Forster, and this is in the first few minutes of the game. And obviously you think about his vulnerability from Thursday night, clips it straight to Salah, and you do not need to give this Liverpool team any more invitation than it already... Well, any invitation, really, bearing in mind the quality they've got. And I think if you kind of go and look at their average positions, look at the fluidity of that front four and how incredible they all are in transition. I thought Szoboszlai was excellent yesterday. Gravenberch, again, just can't compete with that physicality in those engines right now with what Spurs have got to offer in terms of lack of rotation. Salah, again, just that fluidity in that front line. This was a chance here for Salah again, given away by Spurs. Again, the sloppy errors aren't going to help, but the mental fatigue plays a part in that. And I'm not making excuses. I'm not making excuses for the players and Ange, but I do think it's valuable context that has to be considered. But Basuma, it was a poor blind pass that gets that gets intercepted by McAllister, and they're on you straight away with that front four. Salah, incredible footwork here, and that is the quality that you're coming up against. But this was the first goal. Incredible ball again by Trent. Sarr doesn't really track Luis Diaz. They're aiming to kind of get in that channel in between Porro and Dragusin. A lot of teams have had a lot of luck at the back post against us. The defensive awareness of our defence at times, mainly our fullbacks, or certainly right back, I'd say, in Pedro Porro, who I just think yesterday, coming into that, look, like I said, I'm not going to preview Forest, but I just don't think he can start in that game. And I really like Pedro Porro. But Jed Spence, in terms of the physicality and his ability to cover ground and his defensive discipline that he showed yesterday and has showed in the last few games, I think he has to start. If a doggy's back and fit enough to play on that left-hand side, I think you have to move Jed over into his preferred position. I'm not saying do that for the long term. I'm not saying Spurs need to upgrade Pedro Porro or get rid of him, but Spurs will look a much better team, I think, with Jed Spence there. But again, Papsar kind of loses Luis Diaz. Szoboszlai makes that run in behind there as well, and Diaz heads it into the back of the net. Second goal, again, basically the same thing in terms of not kind of tracking the runners. McAllister kind of gets a free run. Again, this is kind of where you're getting exposed as a back four for not having everybody there and kind of the lack of communication and players playing out of position, etc. Gray and Spence go up for the same ball. McAllister, who isn't really tracked, is just able to pick up the second ball and pick up the pieces. But, you know, they're turning the ball over and they're committing men forward and they're getting runners in the box, and it's just hard for Spurs to deal with. But we got ourselves back in the game. Really good from Kulusevski to nick it back. Again, I spoke about his energy levels is just an absolute joke. And again, a Trojan, a warrior, put his team on that back. He's back in the second half, and we need to find a way to make sure he stays with this club for as long as possible, because I think yesterday, talk about a diamond in the rough, right? And I'm saying, the thing is, I don't actually think Spurs, man for man, with the limitations that we had physically, played that badly. You know, I'm not saying we didn't deserve to get battered, because I think it could have been more. And I think from a Liverpool perspective, it should have been more. But I think you have to take that into account. But Kulusevski, energy levels are just unbelievable. Going to nick that back, not a foul. Maddison wraps one in. But this is where I just get frustrated, because it's like, I think we just got a little bit excited here, because it was like we weren't playing well. We got back in the game and it was like, oh, we've pressed, we've turned over the ball, we've won it back. And I just think this was a little bit suicidal almost, just to kind of chase. And the thing is, if you press Trent Alexander-Arnold, this is a weak-footed pass just into the space, and he completely bypasses the press. Szoboszlai, who, again, if you think about the fluidity of Liverpool's front four, was kind of playing as a target man, as a striker at times, into knockdown. I don't really understand why Dragusin has kind of just stepped up to go and try and win that really low percentage ball when it's clear that he's not. You're kind of better off almost letting him bring it down and popping him off and trying to recover, letting him pop it off and try and recover, because you've left Archie Gray all isolated with Salah making that inverted run, which you know he loves to do. Then you've got a 3-on-2 situation. Salah's got the quality to pick out this ball to Szoboszlai. Again, Szoboszlai, the legs, the engine, it's just, you know, it's crazy, this Liverpool side. And obviously, like I said, it's a beneficiary of obviously being able to rotate, but it's crazy. And this is why I think you can't be too hard on Tottenham, but you can question this goal, I think, in terms of like, okay, maybe we can just drop back a little bit before half-time. We've somehow got ourselves back into it. Do you need to be that gung-ho in your press and approach when it's clear the physical energy levels aren't there? Flick on, they go through, and he just takes it so well, doesn't he? But again, the fourth goal, Spurs having to commit players forward, because obviously we're trying to get back in the game. And I think it kind of comes down to Andrew's approach of like, well, we never want to be out of it. And I think as a football fan, deep down, you never want to feel out of it, right? And you have to go and try. You have to try and get back in the game. And that's why I admired Kulusevski's performance so much, because he just put that team kind of on his back. And naturally, the space is going to open up even more. First off, they weren't picking us off on the break. They were just having the quality to either turn the ball over or kind of play little balls in over the top, and they were really hurting us. I thought they were excellent in that second half, but we obviously created a lot of our own problems, more so in the second half, because of the fact that there was maybe a window they felt to try and go at Liverpool and get back in the game, but it was wave after wave of counter-attack in the second half, because, again, how incredible they are on transition. Liverpool are arguably the worst kind of team that we could have played, right? Because, like I said, before the game, I was thinking about how, when you think about how you can potentially cut through Liverpool, you have to be brave and you have to try and get around that press. It felt like they tweaked that yesterday. Didn't even go that aggressive necessarily in terms of their press, in terms of that front four. It was more of a front three at times, with Gakpo staying that little bit wider. So they tweaked and they adapted. But And it was hard to find that space trying to play out, though, because they're so well organised. And also their counter-pressing is so great. Even if you are able to play out and play through the lines, in that second phase, they're always on you. They're always on you. They're just monsters. Physical monsters, mentality monsters, quality monsters, any sort of monster you can think. They're a top side. They're absolutely top side. And Robertson here, look, this is a great chance for Spurs in the sense that, like, look at the space that Porro's in, and we've able to kind of fashion that and get ourselves up the pitch. But Robertson makes an amazing crunching tackle, and then look, here come the cavalry. McAllister on it, Robertson who wins the ball. Sorry, look at his action there. And I think that that screen grab and freeze frame of Pedro Porro kind of sums up him at the moment, doesn't it? It's just like do I have to run back? And that's not an effort thing with Pedro Porro, is it? And he does make the bust, but I'm just saying, or make the lung busting run to get back. But it's just that's kind of what he's been asked to do at the moment. I think he's just got nothing left. But Robertson goes, and here come the cavalry. Gakpo. Dragusin, I don't really understand what Dragusin can do here. I thought Dragusin was poor on the ball in the game, and I thought he stepped up too much at points. But here for this goal, Diaz knows he's going to have that runner in behind. This Liverpool team, just when they break forward, they just feel so... It's just so dangerous and so precise. And Gakpo makes the run off of him. Archie Gray does so well here. He blocks it twice on the line and Salah picks up the pieces. One thing I will say maybe about the defensive line and the organisation is it kind of went a little bit to pot throughout the game, but in the second half here with Spurs chasing, stepping up at the wrong times. Obviously Porro and Spence playing Szoboszlai and Diaz on side. Dragusin and Gray have gone. One ball down the middle from Alisson and Szoboszlai goes around the keeper and puts it wide. Again, here Liverpool able to win the ball back high up the pitch. Able to win the ball back on the edge of their own penalty area. Spurs trying to play forward. One ball takes out three players and Diaz. Look at the run of Szoboszlai off Basuma. I didn't think Basuma covered himself in glory, actually, in this game. And when you go back and think about this goal, Dragusin doesn't win the header, but look at Basuma and how slow he is to get back. He's not even in the picture by the time Szoboszlai puts the ball in the back of the net. And again, he's another one that's struggling. We haven't been able to rotate him really with Bentancur. Obviously, he missed the Southampton game through suspension. But the application is something that I have to question sometimes with Biss. Even though he's got such a hard task as that number 6, I think it's easy to criticise him. And I've done that at points, and I've been hard on him because I know the level is there. But, let Szoboszlai run off of him here. And then you've got a 2v2 situation, or kind of a 2v3 situation. Well, 3v3 situation with Salah and Spence there. Szoboszlai, this is just an excellent touch. And the quality and precision in that pass back to Salah. Look at what you're competing with. It's just crazy. And yeah. Andrew's spoken about the fact that he's not going to change. He isn't going to change it. He's getting frustrated about the constant questioning. Obviously, a result like this doesn't help. But there's not much he can do with the players that we've got available right now. And I know you'd say, okay, let's just kind of play in a low block and sit in and try and hit Liverpool on the break. But that's not his methods, and he's not just going to completely abandon it, because it's a balancing act, isn't it, between kind of losing the faith of the players. And look, it's going to hurt those players to get battered, but they might come out the other side of it in a better place, knowing that we've done it our way. And once we get those players back, look, obviously there was those stats that came out on Sky about Spurs' defensive record in December, 20th for every single metric, whether it was shots faced, goals conceded. I just want to kind of bring this up for a little bit of context here. Obviously, 20th for goals conceded, shot faced, shots on target faced, expected goals against, big chances faced. But someone's quite rightly kind of pointed out a thread and said, well, this looks awful, but a lot of context is needed here, and I'm trying to provide some. In the first 11 games of the season, before the injury crisis, Spurs conceded a total of 8.42 open play XG. That's an average of less than 1 XG per game, 0.7. Now, since the City game where we had 6 players unavailable, Spurs have conceded a whopping 13.2 open play XG in 6 games. And it's kind of what's going to happen when the physical levels of this team are expected to be so high, and so... we constantly go and try and play for the win and all this kind of stuff. We won't, even though when you look at the first 2 goals, we were kind of in a solid sort of block. It's just their quality that undoes us. But at this point, you're chasing the game. You're trying to get back in it. If we sit in, Liverpool's still got the quality to hurt you and pick you off anyway. What you're going to do, just roll over and let them do it? No, you show a bit of fight, and that's what Spurs did. Kulusevski showing that fight. Look at the run off the ball here. And again, the intensity levels to spot that and getting behind. Ridiculous goal. But here, again, because everybody's so committed to trying to get back in the game at this point, one ball, up the pitch, Gray and Dragusin go up for the header. Szoboszlai wins the second ball. Salah, it's one ball over the top and they're in, and thankfully it doesn't go in. And Spurs, again, have a little bit of hope back in the game. Johnson does well here to kind of get a shoulder in on Robertson, and Solanke finishes it so well. And the scoreline at that point, and you can take, he's more respectable and you can kind of take a bit of pride in how he got back into it. But again here, that press, trying to get back in the game. One ball over the top from Trent, who was excellent in that first half. Takes up so many players. Jota, Diaz is running at your back four. You got, 6 players back in front of Diaz to defend it, but you still can't stop the shot and they save it. Diaz again here, the fluidity, moves off the left, inside, keeps going around the right. Salah, lovely ball in behind, and they did this so much and they score. I feel very flat. I do feel very flat. There's not much you can do in these kind of games other than just go through the goals and pick them out and just pick it apart. But I don't want to be too hard on Spurs because of what we're kind of going through right now as a squad and as a side. And yesterday was very flat for many different reasons. And, obviously the protest against the board, which was obviously well organised and well attended. And then in the ground, you've got the Squid Game stuff and, stewards popping balloons trying to, calm down any sort of protest or just make it act like it's not even happening, when Spurs fans are incredibly disgruntled with what's happened off the pitch and that lack of investment off the pitch and lack of care in building a squad that Ange is going to be able to compete with and actually be able to rotate. It all kind of came together yesterday. It all kind of came to a head and we got absolutely taken apart. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. It's just kind of a tough one to go through, really. Painful defeat. A 6-3 defeat is going to be painful. But yeah, sometimes you have to just take your beatings like this on the chin and just say Liverpool were absolutely excellent, and that's what they were, and we got battered. Hopefully a better result against Forest. I hope you all have a lovely Christmas. I hope you really enjoy it. Thanks for all the support over the last, how long have we been doing this now? Since June. So what's that, 6 months? Thanks so much for the support. I massively, massively appreciate it. We'll be back after the Forest game on the 27th to go through that. There won't be a Forest preview. But in the meantime, I will be posting still my TikTok and stuff like that, so you can keep up with me there. So yeah, thanks so much, guys. Honestly, you've changed my life, supporting me in this way. So not the way you wanted to end, not the way you wanted to sign off for Christmas with this kind of result, but I think once we get players back, we'll be in a better place. Hopefully we've got to suck it up and get through this rocky period. So nice one. Thanks all for watching, and up Spurs.